Anxiety begins where your control ends. It feeds on imagined futures and neglected responsibilities. It grows in the dark corners of what-if thinking and unresolved emotion. The Stoics understood this well. They did not treat anxiety as a flaw, but as a signal, a reminder to return to the present, to your reason, to your values. In a world of overstimulation and relentless distraction, anxiety has become a norm. But the Stoics saw through this illusion. They trained themselves to remain grounded, to separate what they could control from what they could not, and to focus their energy where it would actually matter. This is not an abstract philosophy, it is a lived discipline. Each day is a test. Each moment is a chance to hold your position, to move deliberately, to cut away what does not serve you. This is how the Stoic kills anxiety, not with denial, but with clarity. Let us walk through this path together, chapter by chapter. The goal is not to erase anxiety completely. The goal is to shrink it down until it no longer rules you, until your presence becomes stronger than your fear. Let us begin. Chapter 1. Understand what anxiety is. Anxiety is the mismanagement of focus. It is the repeated habit of placing attention on things that are uncertain, unpredictable, or outside the range of your influence. It often begins as a subtle mental drift and then grows into an emotional storm. The Stoics understood anxiety as a product of internal disorder, what they referred to as a sickness of the soul. This condition arises when rational thought is replaced by fear, speculation, and impulse. Epictetus taught that what truly disturbs us is not the events themselves, but the judgments we attach to them. This principle removes the illusion that external circumstances control your well-being. It shows that emotional suffering is shaped by your perception. You experience anxiety when your interpretation of events becomes exaggerated, distorted, or detached from reason. Your judgments become the source of your stress. The anxious mind creates imagined futures. It writes narratives based on uncertainty. You begin to fear situations that do not yet exist, conversations that might go wrong, criticisms that might be made, failures that might unfold. These imagined outcomes are treated as facts. This leads to tension, overthinking, and emotional exhaustion. The Stoic corrects this by asking a simple question: what is actually happening right now? Anxiety grows in the space between perception and action. It escalates when there is no clear direction. You try to solve problems that have not fully formed. You attempt to control outcomes that are still unfolding. This process leaves you restless and scattered. The mind loops through possibilities, often focusing on worst-case outcomes. The Stoic returns to what is concrete. They do not chase scenarios. They examine their own mind. You cannot act in the future. You can only act in the present. Action is only possible in the moment that exists. Anxiety loses strength when deliberate action begins. It weakens when energy is redirected from speculation to responsibility. When you take control of what you can do now, your mind regains structure. This structure is what anxiety lacks. It depends on chaos. It thrives in the absence of direction. When direction is introduced, its power declines. Mental drift is a core cause of anxiety. When the mind wanders aimlessly, it falls into patterns of fear and fantasy. When it is trained to return to the present, to observe, to assess, to act, it begins to stabilize. Attention becomes a tool of strength instead of a source of distress. The Stoic builds this through daily exercises, journaling, observation, deliberate routines. These are not rituals, they are recalibrations. To kill anxiety, you must first understand its source. Do not treat it as a personality trait or permanent condition. Do not give it the status of identity. It is not who you are. It is a temporary result of misplaced attention. It is something that arises under certain conditions and can be reduced under others. This mindset gives you leverage. It gives you a starting point. Begin to observe what triggers anxiety in your day. Note the situations, thoughts, and expectations that precede it. Identify whether they are rooted in reality or assumption. Practice labeling anxious thoughts instead of absorbing them. Create a pause between stimulus and reaction. This space allows reason to return. This practice will not erase anxiety in a single moment. It will not remove all uncertainty from your life, but it will help you create clarity within uncertainty. It will help you reclaim your mind. The Stoic does not aim to feel nothing. They aim to feel what is true and act on it. Begin this process by taking control of your focus. Every moment you do, anxiety begins to lose ground. Chapter 2. Separate what you can control. The core of Stoic practice lies in the dichotomy of control. There are things within your control and things outside of it. Anxiety thrives in the gray area between the two, where you mistake the external for the internal. Your thoughts, choices, responses, and values are within your control. The actions of others, the economy, the weather, or the outcome of events are not. This is where the Stoic begins, by dividing the field of attention and responsibility. Marcus Aurelius reminds himself constantly, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." This was not comfort, it was instruction. Power is not about outcomes, it is about orientation. The anxious mind reaches outward, the disciplined mind returns inward. Every time you feel anxious, ask, "Is this within my control?" If it is, act on it. If it is not, release it. This is not passive, it is precision. It keeps your energy aligned with reality. Begin a structured practice of reflection. Set aside 10 minutes each evening to review your day in detail. Write down every moment that caused tension, worry, or hesitation. Do not filter or judge the thoughts. Simply capture them clearly and directly. This creates awareness. Once they are recorded, label each worry carefully. Was it related to something you could influence or something beyond your influence? Next to each entry, describe what your actual response was. Did you try to control the uncontrollable? Did you neglect action where action was possible? Look at the sequence of your thoughts and behaviors. Over time, patterns will become visible. You may notice recurring anxieties about things like other people's reactions, uncontrollable outcomes, or hypothetical scenarios. Track these patterns for at least 2 weeks. Then begin to group your worries by category: work, relationships, health, time, self-image. Within each group, mark which concerns are repeated but unresolved. This shows you where your energy is being drained. Start to redirect it by focusing only on the issues that fall under your control. This reflection process helps you draw boundaries in your thinking. It teaches your mind to sort through noise and focus on signal. When done consistently, it strengthens your ability to respond rather than react. It also shows you how often your anxiety is misplaced. With clarity, you reclaim that mental space and use it for decisive action rather than continued worry. Chapter 3. Anchor yourself in the present moment. The anxious mind leaves the present. It projects itself into futures it cannot inhabit or change. The Stoic mind returns to where life actually happens, now. Seneca wrote that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. The anxious person lives in a film that plays on repeat, imagining scenarios that may never arrive. Stoicism brings you back into the physical, the concrete, the provable. You are not anxious when your attention is fully engaged in a meaningful task. When you are writing, building something with your hands, walking with presence, or breathing with conscious awareness, your focus occupies the space anxiety would otherwise fill. These activities require full mental presence. They give your attention structure. That structure creates stability. It quiets the noise of uncertainty. This is not a way to hide. It is a disciplined return to what is in front of you, to your body, your senses, and the work at hand. When you return to the task, you interrupt the mental drift that feeds anxiety. The present moment becomes manageable when you stop resisting it. When you engage with what is immediate, the burden of imagined futures begins to fade. You notice that the moment is not inherently overwhelming. It becomes clear that the sense of urgency was created by thought, not by the facts of your situation. Your nervous system responds to attention. When your attention is steady, your physical state begins to mirror that steadiness. To support this return to presence, use simple grounding exercises throughout the day. Begin with your breath. Take 3 slow breaths and count each one. This interrupts scattered thought. Bring your focus to your body. Place both feet on the ground and feel the weight shift. When walking, match your breath to your step. When speaking, pause before you respond. Let the pause reset your mind. These are physical cues that shift your focus back to what is happening now. When you begin a task, give it your full attention. Remove all distractions from your immediate environment. Close other tabs on your computer. Put your phone in another room or turn it face down and on silent. Reduce background noise as much as possible. If you are in a busy environment, use earplugs or noise-canceling headphones. The point is to create an environment where focus becomes easier to maintain. Set a short timer. 10 to 15 minutes is enough. Choose one task and do it without interruption for that full period. Focus not only on finishing it, but on how you do it. Be precise, present, and deliberate in every step. The task itself does not need to be important. The act of giving it complete focus is what matters. Washing a dish, tying your shoes, or arranging objects on a desk become exercises in control. They train the mind to stay with the moment. This kind of attention strengthens the mental muscle that anxiety weakens. It builds tolerance for simplicity. It helps reverse the overstimulated state that keeps your thoughts spinning. When attention is undivided, anxiety has fewer places to hide. This practice reduces the constant tension created by split focus. When your mind is pulled in multiple directions, each task becomes harder. Progress slows, errors increase, frustration builds. The nervous system interprets this scattered energy as threat. It signals the body to stay alert. The result is physical tension, rapid breathing, shallow focus, and emotional exhaustion. The Stoic understands this pattern and interrupts it with full engagement in the task at hand. Single tasking is not only more efficient, it is calming. It creates order where there was disorder. It allows your mind to settle into rhythm. As you complete one task with care, a sense of control begins to return. That control extends into your thinking, your breathing, and your posture. You begin to move with intention rather than haste. This does not require changing your whole routine. It requires changing how you show up to it. The Stoic sees each task as a chance to practice presence. There is no hierarchy of importance when it comes to mental clarity. Folding laundry can serve the same purpose as preparing a business proposal if it is done with full attention. The value lies in the way you approach the task. The anxious mind rushes to finish. The disciplined mind remains grounded in process. This difference becomes your practice. It becomes your protection against inner chaos. You can test this distinction throughout your day. Notice how you feel after trying to do 3 things at once. Then compare it with how you feel after doing one thing fully. The anxious person moves through the day with tension in their shoulders, shallow breath, and scattered thought. Their mind jumps between what was missed and what might go wrong. The Stoic moves through the day with an organized mind and steady effort. They are not reacting. They are working within their plan. You do not need ideal conditions to apply this. Start wherever you are. If you are speaking with someone, look them in the eye. Do not check your phone while they speak. If you are eating, sit down and eat without distraction. If you are commuting, put away your screen and observe the world around you. All of these moments are practice opportunities. Each one reinforces the discipline of presence. When anxiety rises, it is often a sign that your mind has drifted too far ahead or fallen into old patterns. Use that signal as a prompt. Pause and anchor yourself in your immediate reality. Name one thing you see, one thing you hear, one thing you are doing. Recenter your focus on the task in front of you. Let it be the only thing you do until it is complete. When it is done, move on to the next with the same approach. This is how you train your nervous system to respond calmly. This is how you develop focus that holds under pressure. When you live this way, presence stops being a temporary state. It becomes your position. It becomes the place from which you make decisions, handle stress, and navigate uncertainty. It gives your mind the clarity to act, and your body the stillness to endure. Chapter 4. Cut the cord of approval. Much of anxiety is rooted in what others might think, say, or judge. The Stoics saw this clearly. They knew that the search for approval leads to the abandonment of inner peace. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The approval of such men, who do not even stand well in their own eyes, has no value for me." This is a reminder that most people are not grounded. Their opinions change with mood and moment. Basing your peace on their opinion is a faulty foundation. You cannot control what others think. You can only control how you live. When your focus is on reputation, your soul becomes anxious. When your focus is on integrity, your soul becomes still. To kill this form of anxiety, establish a clear and unwavering rule for yourself. Judge your actions based on your own principles and values, not on the shifting opinions of others. Make your inner compass your standard. Align your behavior with what you know to be right, rather than with what you think others might accept or praise. This self-guided orientation becomes a daily anchor. Over time, it strengthens your ability to remain calm in the face of misunderstanding, criticism, or judgment. Living by your principles requires deliberate effort. Begin each day by identifying one value you want to uphold: honesty, patience, courage, or clarity. Let that value guide how you speak, how you respond, and how you choose to spend your time. This turns philosophy into action. Consistency in this practice brings internal stability. Your decisions start reflecting depth, not impulse. That consistency builds confidence. From confidence, peace follows. Each time you catch yourself reaching for validation, pause and investigate the motive behind the action. Ask directly, is this choice grounded in my character, or is it shaped by a desire to be accepted? Be honest in the answer. This awareness alone shifts the habit. Then act from what aligns with your chosen value, even if it feels uncomfortable. The discomfort will fade. The alignment will remain. Approval seeking is not always obvious. It can show up in how you dress, how you phrase your emails, how you avoid confrontation, or how you over-explain. Begin noticing these subtle cues. Document them. This awareness builds a pattern. That pattern reveals where your energy is leaking. With this clarity, start redirecting your attention. Each time you choose integrity over image, you reclaim your energy and reduce your anxiety. Let your peace come from the quiet knowledge that you acted with self-respect. That is a foundation no one can shake. Chapter 5. Embrace voluntary discomfort. The Stoics trained themselves through voluntary hardship. They exposed themselves to controlled forms of discomfort to build resilience and clarity. This was not punishment, it was preparation. Anxiety often comes from the belief that you cannot handle what might happen. The Stoic disproves this by facing difficulty willingly: fasting, cold showers, silence, deliberate restraint. Each one builds inner strength. Seneca practiced sleeping on the ground to remind himself that he could endure discomfort. This reduces fear, and with less fear, there is less anxiety. You begin to believe in your capacity. You prove to yourself that comfort is not necessary for peace. This is strength built through choice. It is the opposite of helplessness. Choose one practice of voluntary discomfort this week. Remove a luxury. Delay a desire. Do something hard on purpose. Reflect on what it teaches you. This is how you shrink fear. You reduce it by creating real experiences that show you are capable. You begin by exposing yourself to manageable difficulty and observing how you respond. When you feel cold and stay calm, when you go without something and remain composed, when you are uncomfortable but keep your posture, you prove to yourself that fear has been overestimated. These moments are not imaginary, they are lived, and they build data for the mind to rely on. Fear grows when the mind assumes failure. Courage grows when you collect evidence that shows you can endure. Theory alone does not provide this. You must live it. You must step into the uncertain and carry yourself through it without collapse. That movement begins to change how you interpret stress. The body and mind both adapt. They start to recognize that intensity does not mean danger, and difficulty does not mean you are falling apart. Avoidance trains the nervous system to remain reactive. Exposure retrains it to stay balanced. When you do what is difficult on purpose, you turn toward life rather than away from it. You show yourself that control can exist even in discomfort. The Stoics built this principle into their routines. Each exercise, fasting, silence, rejection of luxury, was a rehearsal for life's surprises. It was never about the discomfort itself. It was about the confidence built from navigating it. The daily practice of courage is quiet. It does not always look heroic. It often takes place in private moments: getting out of bed on time, completing an unpleasant task, choosing restraint when you want to complain. These are not small things. They are opportunities to reinforce who you are becoming. Each repetition makes fear smaller. Each act of courage deepens self-trust. This is the cycle: experience, reflection, adjustment. You expose yourself, observe your reaction, and learn from it. That feedback loop turns anxiety into clarity and weakness into strength. Through these small acts of voluntary discomfort, you begin to change the conditions in which fear can thrive. You replace doubt with evidence. You replace anxiety with action. You replace avoidance with training. This is the path of inner endurance. Chapter 6. Strengthen your inner dialogue. The words you speak to yourself shape the quality of your attention. Anxious thoughts often appear as internal noise: doubt, self-judgment, urgency, or vague fear. If left unchecked, this dialogue becomes the dominant voice in your mind. The Stoics trained themselves to speak with clarity and strength inwardly. They challenged each fearful thought with reason. Marcus Aurelius wrote personal reminders to himself daily. He used language as a tool of self-discipline. He did not rely on motivation or hope. He relied on structure. Every entry in his journal was a form of correction, a way to bring the mind back to center. His meditations are not public teachings. They are private reinforcements of principle. Your inner voice can be shaped the same way. Begin by identifying the tone of your thoughts. Is it impatient, chaotic, self-critical, or reactive? Write down a few recurring thoughts during anxious moments. Then question them. Ask, is this true? Is this useful? Does this lead to action or paralysis? Replace vague thoughts with specific instructions. When your mind says, "This will go wrong," reframe it with, "I will prepare as best I can and adapt if needed." When it says, "I can't handle this," replace it with, "I can meet this moment with what I have now." This is not false optimism. It is a redirection of energy from fear to responsibility. The Stoic does not expect silence in the mind. They expect discipline in its language. The mind will always produce thoughts, especially under pressure. What matters is how you respond to those thoughts. The internal voice becomes a source of either agitation or stability. By shaping the tone, structure, and rhythm of this voice, you change your mental environment. Speak to yourself in a way that calms the nervous system and focuses your intent. The language you choose affects your physiology. If your words are rushed, vague, or threatening, your body responds with tension. If your words are clear, firm, and directed toward effort, your body begins to settle. Let each phrase become a deliberate command. Bring your focus back to the breath. Reaffirm your values. Narrow your attention to the next step you can take. These small corrections stop spiraling thought before it takes over. When the mind starts to wander into anxious territory, interrupt the sequence early. Use concise and grounding statements. Focus here. This is within my control. Take one action. Repeat these until your attention is stable. This habit replaces fear loops with decisive thought. It reconditions the mind to move with order rather than drift toward worry. Your inner conversation becomes your preparation. It is the mental shield that forms before you speak, move, or respond. It helps you remain collected in the presence of chaos. When your thoughts are organized, your actions follow the same pattern. This structure does not remove challenge, but it improves your posture within challenge. Build a written practice to support this process. Every morning, write one sentence that sets your orientation. It could be a value you intend to hold or a quality you aim to express. Keep it short, direct, and actionable. Avoid vague affirmations. Choose language that reminds you of your responsibility. Every evening, reflect briefly. Write down one sentence about how you managed your inner state. Focus on moments where you redirected your attention, handled discomfort, or maintained clarity under stress. Track your responses rather than the outcomes. This helps reinforce the link between mindset and conduct. Over time, this daily rhythm changes how your mind speaks by default. Fear becomes less persuasive. Doubt becomes easier to interrupt. Patterns of thought that once led to paralysis begin to fade. You develop a voice inside that mirrors reason, patience, and direction. This chapter continues the path of training through deliberate internal construction. Mastery begins here, in the private language you use when no one is watching, in the quiet choices that shape your perception, in the words you allow and the words you repeat. Let that language become your foundation. Let it carry you through uncertainty with steadiness. Chapter 7. Limit the intake that weakens you. Anxiety is often fueled by overstimulation. When your mind is overloaded with information, opinions, and noise, it loses its ability to filter what matters. The Stoics understood the importance of guarding attention. They did not allow their inner life to be dictated by external chatter. They kept their minds clean by being selective with what they consumed. Every message you absorb influences your state. Each input, whether visual, verbal, written, or auditory, creates a subtle shift in how your mind operates. News headlines set your emotional tone before your day has begun. Social media floods your awareness with comparison, judgment, or outrage. Emails demand urgency. Casual conversations can implant doubts, gossip, or unnecessary distractions. These small moments stack on each other. Over time, they change the rhythm of your mind. Some signals introduce fear, frustration, or restlessness. Others strengthen clarity, direction, and steadiness. The mind is not designed to hold unlimited input. Its filters degrade when overwhelmed. The anxious mind is constantly absorbing but rarely organizing. It collects fragments of unresolved issues, conflicting messages, and unmet expectations. This buildup creates confusion, not wisdom. Attention becomes shallow and reactive. Focus becomes difficult to sustain. The solution is not to absorb more, but to apply sharper boundaries to what enters your mental space. Train yourself to notice what drains your attention. Monitor your emotional state after each interaction, digital or in person. Do you feel grounded or scattered, energized or depleted? If you notice a pattern of agitation from certain sources, reduce or eliminate them. This includes platforms, apps, shows, conversations, or environments. Curate your digital space with the same care you would apply when preparing a place to sleep. Choose stillness over stimulation, simplicity over novelty, stability over drama. Build rules for digital hygiene. Do not open your phone immediately after waking. Delay your first exposure to input until your mind is anchored with intention. Replace passive scrolling with structured reading. Choose long-form content over short bursts. Make your input selective. Choose authors, thinkers, and voices that help you think clearly and act deliberately. Let your information intake support your values, not your urges. The Stoic filters the world with intention. They protect the integrity of their inner space. They do not absorb whatever appears. They measure everything against reason. They discard what does not support the work of the soul. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself to avoid gossip and public spectacle. He returned to the structure of philosophy, journaling, and introspection. Seneca saw entertainment without purpose as wasted life. These choices were not extreme, they were effective. Set firm boundaries around your media intake. Choose specific times during the day to check the news. Avoid repetition. Refrain from checking updates impulsively. Create blocks of time free from any digital consumption. Use those windows to think, to walk, to read, or to engage in physical work. Turn off notifications. Remove unnecessary alerts. The fewer interruptions, the deeper your attention can go. Introduce silence into your routine. Even short moments of silence reset the nervous system. 10 minutes without music, dialogue, or screens can return the mind to stillness. These pauses are not empty. They are active resets. They give your mind time to recover from constant reaction. When you lower the volume of external signals, your mind becomes more accurate in its assessments. It sees clearly without emotional distortion. It begins to recognize what deserves attention and what can be ignored. You gain perspective. Problems become smaller. Priorities become clearer. You respond rather than react. The anxious person seeks more input to feel safe. The trained person needs less input to feel certain. This awareness can be applied each day. Ask yourself regularly, what am I feeding my mind? What impact does this have on my focus, mood, and clarity? What needs to be removed? What needs to be reinforced? This inventory helps shape your habits. It turns attention into a tool rather than a liability. Your mental environment is a reflection of your discipline. Each choice you make, what to read, what to watch, what to scroll through, has a cost or a benefit. Choose carefully. Keep what contributes to strength, order, and purpose. Discard what introduces noise, panic, or envy. Let your mind become a stable place, a place where anxiety loses ground, a place where reason leads. Chapter 8. Define your role, then live it fully. A Stoic life is guided by roles: citizen, parent, creator, worker, friend. Anxiety often appears when your actions are disconnected from these roles. When your behavior has no clear purpose, you drift. This drift leads to restlessness and self-doubt. The mind searches for meaning in motion, but finds none. The Stoics did not wait for motivation to act. They asked what role needed to be fulfilled, then committed to fulfilling it. Your role is not a title. It is a commitment to certain values in a given context. As a parent, it may be patience and protection. As a citizen, it may be justice and service. As a creator, it may be clarity and craft. These roles offer boundaries. They tell you where to direct your energy. When anxiety rises, you return to your role and ask, what would fulfillment of this role look like right now? This question removes vague expectation. It replaces fear with direction. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that he was born to do the work of a human being. That meant facing difficulty, showing up with integrity, and acting with reason. When you define your roles clearly, your identity becomes stable. You stop seeking approval for who you are. You begin focusing on how well you are living what you claim to stand for. List the key roles you hold in your life. Then define them in your own words, not in terms of achievements, but in terms of conduct. What does it mean to fulfill each role with excellence? What qualities are required? What distractions get in the way? Reflect on these questions weekly. Use them to measure how you've spent your energy. Let your roles give shape to your day. When you commit to living your roles fully, anxiety has fewer openings. You are absorbed in action with clear intent. The mind has less space to invent problems when energy is directed toward responsibility. You are no longer circling possibilities. You are moving with purpose. Overthinking fades when your attention is anchored to the present through duty. Meaningful roles act as containers. They focus your behavior and define the boundaries of your effort. Within those boundaries, your work becomes focused and repeatable. The structure of that repetition builds confidence. You begin to trust that what you are doing has value, even in its simplest form. The tasks may be ordinary, but when aligned with your chosen role, they carry weight. A small act of service as a citizen, a quiet act of support as a friend, a consistent show of discipline as a student or leader. These acts become the architecture of peace. Comparison fades when your standard is internal. You no longer scan the world for approval or proof. You return to a question that matters. Did I show up fully in my role today? This brings a clear sense of closure to each day. It allows the mind to rest because it is no longer wondering if you should have been something else. You did what was yours to do. Living in this way removes the pressure to do everything. The Stoic does not attempt to cover every role or chase every opportunity. They select their responsibilities with care. They understand that trying to be everything creates division and disorder. Instead, they aim to be excellent within the limits of what belongs to them. Excellence is built through focus, not expansion. Define what belongs to you through reflection. Ask where your influence is most needed, where your values can be most expressed, where your effort creates clarity. Let this definition be flexible over time, but clear in the present. Then live it with consistency. Wake up each day with a simple prompt. What is my role, and what does that require today? Mastery is not found in the abstract. It is found in the direct application of what matters. When your energy is placed in the right structure, anxiety no longer directs your life. You do. The more clearly you define your responsibility, the more stability you create within. And in that stability, peace can take root. Chapter 9. Let your schedule reflect your philosophy. Your calendar is a reflection of what you value. It shows where your attention goes and what you consider important. If your days are shaped by constant reaction, urgency, and scattered activity, your mind adopts the same structure. Your internal state becomes fragmented. You lose track of what matters. A Stoic does not approach time passively. Time is treated as the foundation of action, the container for all responsibility and discipline. If you want to reduce anxiety, you must treat your schedule as a tool of self-command. Seneca observed that people guard their finances carefully, but spend their time carelessly. This misalignment creates a quiet form of pressure that builds over time. The damage does not always appear in obvious ways. It accumulates in scattered attention, neglected tasks, and days that feel full but end with little to show. You may not notice this cost on the surface, but internally it creates agitation. As the pattern continues, it turns into fatigue, resentment, or confusion. These are signals that time has been spent without alignment. When your hours are filled with low-value tasks or spent reacting to interruptions, your mind struggles to remain grounded. You lose connection to what you actually want to accomplish. You begin the day with intention, but get pulled into obligations that offer no meaning. This weakens your discipline and leads to frustration. These emotional shifts are not personal flaws. They are the result of structure breaking down. To correct this, you must take control of your schedule before the day begins. Approach each day with a clear outline. Review what needs your best focus. Separate what is essential from what is optional. Define what must be done first and create space for it. Begin your morning with a process that centers you. Reading a Stoic text, writing a single paragraph, or simply sitting in silence for 10 minutes allows the mind to organize. This short period gives you distance from noise and prepares you to enter the day with order. Once centered, choose your top 3 priorities. These should reflect your roles and responsibilities, not just tasks from a to-do list. Each task should be assigned a clear time block. Use these blocks to protect deep work. Work without switching windows. Work without background media. When the block ends, step away briefly. These transitions reset your focus and keep your energy stable. Take short walks, breathe deeply, or sit quietly between blocks. These moments of reset prevent exhaustion later in the day. Before you sleep, spend 5 minutes reviewing your actions. Look for areas where attention drifted. Look for moments when discipline held. This process reinforces your capacity to plan and improve. Crowding your calendar creates noise. Say no to extra obligations that create confusion. Do not allow your time to be shaped by unclear requests or vague opportunities. Decline work that does not align with your values. Each hour must serve a reason. Treat your commitments as sacred. The Stoic understands that focus cannot exist in the presence of clutter. Simplify your schedule until only what matters remains. Keep your system visible. Use a physical or digital calendar that you update daily. Revisit it in the morning, adjust it weekly, and study it monthly. Over time, your schedule becomes a mirror of your philosophy. It reflects what you stand for. It shows what you ignore, what you protect, and what you pursue. A scattered schedule leads to tension. A clear schedule leads to direction. Direction limits anxiety. When your time is organized with intention, your day begins to support your mindset. You remove the need to constantly decide what to do next. That energy is preserved for doing, not for choosing. Each hour begins to serve a defined purpose. Your focus becomes less reactive and more deliberate. You experience fewer mental collisions. Small decisions become easier because your time has a framework. Each task connects to a role, and each role reflects a value. The result is internal steadiness. Your thoughts become quieter. You notice that your attention drifts less. The structure you created begins to carry you forward. Every step you take within a structured day reinforces clarity. One task leads into the next without hesitation. The transitions feel natural because your attention is not divided. You are not shifting between unrelated actions. You are following a pattern you've designed. That pattern gives momentum. Each completed task strengthens focus for the next. When distractions appear, you recover quickly. You are anchored in process. You act without delay because you are not searching for what to do. The next step is already defined. This structure reduces the cognitive strain of constant decision-making. When every hour has a role, your energy is preserved for doing, not guessing. You stay grounded even during unexpected changes. A flexible but firm plan makes you responsive without becoming reactive. You build consistency through rhythm, not through willpower. Over time, this rhythm trains your nervous system to remain stable. It becomes easier to enter deep work and easier to return after interruption. This is how structure becomes internalized. When your schedule is built on clear values, your time reflects your identity. This alignment removes confusion. There is no split between belief and behavior. You know what matters to you, and you live according to that structure. You do not need constant affirmation because your effort is rooted in conviction. You are not dependent on outcomes alone. You measure your success by how well your time reflects your role. This focus reduces the need to perform. You shift attention from appearance to substance. This consistency builds confidence. When your actions match your values each day, even in small ways, your self-respect grows. You no longer feel pulled in multiple directions. You feel centered. That center becomes your position under pressure. When anxiety arises, you have a stable reference point, your schedule, your purpose, your process. You do not have to search for order because you have already created it. Let each day carry design, even in its smallest details. Begin the day with intention. Let that intention shape how you approach your work, your conversations, and your rest. Give each hour its own weight. Reduce the number of decisions by setting priorities the night before. Review your patterns weekly to see what supports you and what needs adjusting. Treat your time like a tool in constant refinement. Your calendar is not just a list of meetings or reminders. It is a structure for personal leadership. It helps you move from discipline to mastery. Each hour you shape is 1 hour anxiety cannot claim. Each decision made in advance is 1 moment you preserve for clarity. The more you live this way, the more you become consistent in energy, action, and thought. Shape your hours like a craftsman shapes a blade, deliberately, carefully, and with awareness. A well-shaped hour cuts through confusion. It creates order around you and within you. It allows you to stay composed when your environment shifts. When your schedule holds, you hold. You meet your responsibilities with calm. You complete your work with intention. You lead your day rather than react to it. This is the rhythm of a trained mind, measured and deliberate. The Stoic moves with direction because the path is chosen. They rely on process, not impulse. Each step builds the next. The day is no longer something to survive. It is something to shape, to hold, and to walk through with precision. Chapter 10. Build stillness into your day. A calm mind does not appear by chance. It is built through deliberate practices that reduce noise and restore balance. The Stoics recognized that a scattered mind produces scattered actions. They gave space to silence so that reason could lead. Stillness was not treated as a break from life, but as part of life. Without it, the mind fills space with reactivity. It shifts between unresolved thoughts and imagined outcomes. Stillness reclaims that space and restores order. It creates the conditions for clarity to emerge without force. When stillness is part of your routine, the mind learns how to slow down without shutting down. You train yourself to be fully present without being pulled in multiple directions. You create gaps between stimulus and response. These gaps allow space for thought before action. They help you remain composed when tension builds. They give you the chance to observe, assess, and respond from strength rather than from reflex. Daily stillness can take many forms. It can begin with 5 minutes of sitting quietly before the day starts. It can happen during a walk where you leave your phone behind and allow your senses to re-engage with your surroundings. It can take the form of a pause at your desk, a few slow breaths before opening your email, or sitting with your eyes closed after a conversation. These moments seem small, but they create margin. Margin is where awareness lives. Margin is where control returns. Stillness interrupts momentum that leads to burnout. When your day becomes a chain of uninterrupted tasks, tension builds without release. This build-up clouds judgment and shortens patience. It narrows your view. Stillness clears that pressure before it grows. It acts as a reset point for the nervous system. A moment of stillness activates calm physiology. Heart rate slows, breathing deepens, mental loops begin to dissolve. You regain clarity without having to stop your work entirely. You do not need long periods of silence to experience these effects. What matters is how you use the time you set aside. 5 minutes of focused quiet, repeated daily, creates more change than an occasional hour spent restlessly sitting. The benefit of stillness comes from your willingness to let go of doing and return to being aware. Sit with your breath. Let it become the anchor. Let thoughts come and go without interference. You do not have to force silence. You simply have to allow space for it. Stillness reduces internal noise. When the mind slows down, the background chatter fades. In that quieter space, thoughts become easier to observe. You begin to notice patterns in your thinking. You recognize which thoughts carry value and which do not. Emotional reactions can be seen before they take over. This distance between stimulus and emotion allows for deliberate action. The more often you practice this, the more natural it becomes. Make stillness a structured part of your day. Set a timer between tasks. Pause before and after meetings. Use the first few minutes of your morning to orient yourself. Use the last few minutes of your evening to clear your mind before rest. These practices reduce mental residue, the unprocessed tension that lingers after intense periods of focus or emotional exchange. When released regularly, this residue does not accumulate into stress. Stillness is quiet readiness. It holds strength without expression. It is the mental equivalent of standing with balance before movement. It gives the mind a place to return to after conflict or demand. The Stoics trained in stillness to remain mentally available, not drained, not overextended. They knew that moments of silence restored strength faster than distraction. You do not need to leave your responsibilities to access stillness. You bring it into your day through small moments of choice. You create space by pausing during transitions. A calm breath during stress shifts your state. A brief silence before answering allows you to think. A short walk between tasks resets your nervous system. These are not interruptions to your day. They are points of recalibration that keep your attention grounded. These moments reinforce control. They reduce the risk of reacting without intention. Stillness can also be integrated into conversations, decision-making, and movement. Before a meeting, take 10 seconds to check your posture and breathe. Before giving a response, take a pause to make sure you are speaking from calm, not tension. Stillness can enter your routine while you are doing chores or walking from one room to another. It is less about the external activity and more about how you carry your presence within it. By including stillness in this way, you remain mentally available. You are not scattered by every new task or piece of information. Your energy is more stable throughout the day. Stillness keeps your reactions from building into overwhelm. You begin to manage moments instead of being pushed by them. This reduces the buildup of emotional residue and strengthens your ability to recover quickly after difficulty. This is how you preserve peace while remaining active. You continue to fulfill your responsibilities with presence. You handle change without losing clarity. You maintain focus without being consumed by speed. Stillness becomes a stabilizing layer under every effort. It supports good decisions by giving you space to reflect. It clears emotional noise before it becomes inner conflict. It protects your time and mental energy so that your actions remain tied to what you value. Stillness is a form of daily maintenance. It does not require withdrawal. It requires attention. When practiced consistently, it builds a strong internal posture that can carry you through complexity without disorder. It trains your mind to stay rooted in principle. That anchoring makes you less vulnerable to external pressure and more capable of enduring long periods of demand without burning out.